I'm Dean Newland, and welcome to Leadovation. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. This podcast is dedicated to the art and science of innovative leadership. Through insightful interviews with industry experts, I bring you cutting-edge strategies and experiences of innovative leadership, helping you think differently, act strategically, and achieve remarkable results. Join me as I provide insights and tools that empower you to make smarter decisions, forge meaningful relationships. Welcome to Leadovation. What if slowing down could actually make you more productive? It's a provocative idea in a world addicted to urgency. Prior guests to this show, Justin Zorn and Lee Mars, explored this in their HBR article, The Busier You Are, the More You Need Quiet Time. My next guest shares that same passion for presence, but brings it to life with practical, real-world tools for becoming more creative, collaborative, and at peace. Together, we dig and dug into why presence isn't just about mindfulness, it's a genuine leadership advantage. We explored urgency addiction, the trap of mistaking speed for effectiveness, and even how email of all things can serve as a test of clarity and presence. Brad also shared how true listening can transform relationships, reduce conflict, and build the trust organizations need most today. So if you've ever felt buried under emails, trapped in back-to-back meetings, or hooked on the rush of being quote-unquote busy, well, this conversation is for you. Stick around. Brad's insights might just change the way you approach your workday and your leadership. This is Leadovation Podcast. I'm Dean Newland. Let's dive in. So, Brad, before you start ranting on email, thank you for joining me on the show. I really appreciate it. Coming from the windy city of the great town, not town, but city of Chicago. There is sort of a universal truth out there that I'm sure everyone could sort of identify with, that there's a certain amount of magic, a certain amount of grace, creativity, intimacy, joy even at times when we are in the present moment.
Yes.
And that we set up our marketing departments, our calendars for vacations with this hope that maybe we can dive into this thing called the present moment experience, because we know that's where the juice of life really comes from. And yet we live these very frenetic lives and wonder why we're stressed out. So that's my little thought on it to start us off with. Why is present moment experiences so important to you? Why did you come to that conclusion? And then maybe if you remember this long meandering question, how do you help people get back to themselves in that moment?
Thank you. All those are great questions. Thanks for having me, Dean.
My pleasure.
The present moment, as you mentioned, is this magical thing. It's the only time that we can actually have impact, right? The past is done. The future hasn't happened yet. So the present moment is the place where we can act. And yet, we tend to spend a lot of time both in the future and the past. And so helping people to slow down, to be in the present, I believe is not just good for us in terms of we're in the place where everybody else is, but it's actually kind of a productivity superpower. It helps us to get more done as leaders when we slow down to be present with people. So you queued me up with my email rant. Let me give you my email rant.
Okay, let's hear your email rant.
For most people, email is not a place of joy. Is it a place of joy for you, Dean?
Nah, not really.
Right.
It's a tool.
Right. And so what I see executives doing is they kind of attack their email with this idea of how fast can I get through the things in my email box. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, because they have 200 or 300 emails they got to get by the time they're overwhelmed.
Right. And this is, I'll come back to that. So we're attacking our email. We're trying to get through it as quickly as we possibly can. And so we're flipping through, sending one-word replies. Yes, no, I don't think so. as quick as we can, getting these emails out of our inbox and into someone else's inbox. And that feels productive because now it's not in my email, it's in somebody else's email, right?
Yes.
What happens when you get one of those emails that has like 5 questions in it and the person responds yes?
Oh, shit.
Yeah. You respond back to them and say, which of those things are you saying yes to, right?
Exactly.
And so the quicker we get through our email, the less context we provide in the answers, the more email we get back. So when you reply to emails, the natural thing that's going to happen is that people email you back. And so
yeah, that's true.
Replying to fewer emails and replying to them more completely takes you from that 300 email inbox into maybe 100, maybe 70, maybe 50. And so if we can slow down and really look at what is this person asking and answer the question as completely as we can, then it's much more likely that we won't see that email back to us. And that's true productivity. True productivity is it's off my plate and it's not coming back.
All right. So you got me at hello. Yes, I agree. I get it. I get it. So that's sort of the symptom of something. And I want to talk about the source. So what I think about the source, comes to mind is I'm envisioning a person in a stream that is rushing by them and they're trying not to fall over. Right. And the stream is the speed at which life is coming to us, whether we are aware of it or not. And we probably spend more time than not trying to sift through what to pay attention to, what not to pay attention to, because if we paid attention to everything, we'd go probably insane. You know, there's billions of bits of information. Absolutely. Our poor little 286K Pro brains cannot ingest all this information, right? So we spend a lot of time saying no to things. But then on top of that, the things that I do say yes to, I almost have an urgency addiction to it. There's a biochemical reaction in my brain that goes, yes, I'm noticing this too. And I am noticing this my personal self. Like, all right, I've been traveling a lot lately. I've been, on a plane, like almost sometimes every week, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe. I've got a 3-week stint where I'm not on a plane. I don't know how to be like that. This feels a little weird to me, man. I mean, I'm in this pattern. I'm in this urgency piece of, and when I'm on planes and I'm going to clients and there's all this stuff happening and it's exciting and it's dramatic and it's a high, all sorts of whatever happening. Yes. And then the more relaxed pace of my normal business life, it feels different. It feels almost like there must be something wrong. So talk to me about that. Why are we urgency addicted to being out of the moment?
So there's 2 things that I heard from your story. Number 1 is the idea of travel. And travel is a great example of something that just busts our routines, our patterns, our the things that we use to keep ourselves in our right mind oftentimes are these habits of going to the gym or taking some time to meditate or pray or having dinner with our family, right? And when we travel, we get out of those rhythms. And when I'm out of those rhythms, I am much more susceptible to that urgency, right? Because I'm less grounded. I'm less connected to the things that matter to me. And so it's interesting that you put that in the context of travel. But getting away from travel for a minute, the question of why we're addicted to urgency. I think urgency feels good. It makes us feel important, right? Because I'm busy, because I have all these demands on my time, because I have all these people that are asking me for things, I must be really important. Must be really crucial and critical to the function of this business. And that feels good. It feels good to be important.
Well, think about what happens when people retire.
Yeah.
And you just took away their urgency addicted mechanism. And they stare at the refrigerator 6 times a day, figuring out that there's nothing different in that refrigerator. Your apple is still rotting. Right? I mean, I noticed that with my dad when he retired for 35 years. I mean, very productive, busy life. And then bong, I'm going to write a memoir, right? I mean, and I felt that his depression probably started to increase a little bit more. My brother, who is just a little bit younger than me, he's beginning to talk about retirement. And I'm thinking like, what are you going to do after that? And the thing is, we're using this, here, listen to my language. We're using the same lexicon of what brings us value in our retirement as we do in our work, meaning what are we going to quote unquote do, capital D, which to me is a continuation of this urgency addiction piece, which is against this whole idea about what you're saying, which is getting back into the present moment, getting back into, as I think was it Csikszentmihalyi talks about in his book called Flow, you know, when you're really in that space when things start to happen.
That's right.
Or
That's
I just watched this documentary about being Led Zeppelin, and they were talking about getting into that state of flow. The Beatles got into states of flow. That's how we have Prince, extremely prolific musician when he was alive, got into states of flow. These are all characteristics of being in the present moment. Great, brilliant things happen there.
In fact, one of the things that I'm talking to my clients about is right now you have problems in front of you that probably require a greater degree of creativity and focus than you've had in the last 10 years. So if you want a greater degree of focus and creativity, then flow is where you need to be. Like that's the state that maximizes your focus and creativity. And so having a calendar where every hour on the hour you're jumping onto another Zoom call, you're never getting to that point of flow where you can actually work on the problem that is the root of the problem that's going on.
And yet what you give up by doing that, I think this is what goes on in at least my head, is you give up control.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Is that bad? I'm trying to get the bad part here.
What's that?
I'm trying to get to the bad part. Is that bad that we give up control?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm sorry, I didn't finish the where's the punchline? No, I agree with you. I think that God, it takes on so many different dimensions, because if we live in a universe by which we are in control, and that is manifest by the urgency addiction that we all seem to have to one degree or another, then it seems to mean that we are, how's this for going way out there, almost living in a environment where we are the center of the universe. There is no God. There is no God.
That is correct.
Whatever you define God, right?
Right.
There is no higher self. There is no other support. It's all up to you. Go out and conquer, young man, young woman.
Yes.
Don't, do it yourself. Versus
and that's what I find, that when we get into that urgency, there is there's a blindness to the other people who are trying to help us. Like the more urgent I am, the more I see those people as an obstacle to my success instead of people who are trying to come alongside me. And so it turns into this selfishness. For me, I get very selfish when I have that urgency addiction going on.
Totally. And then let's continue to find things to layer on top of this. Okay, Brad? So then you think about Jim Collins' book, how the mighty fall, right? And really the big story behind these great companies who basically fell off the face of the earth was hubris and blind spots. You might say urgency addiction to do the thing that we've always known has been successful without being able to see outside of ourselves. And then to your point about this urgency addiction prevents us from connecting with others, from collaborating with others, being creative with others, because we think that it's up to us to do it ourselves.
That's right.
Now
you keep using this word addiction. And I want to.
It's the word of the day. I'm trying to use it 6 times. I don't know.
I experience it as an addiction, so I'm resonating with that.
Okay.
But when I started to realize that I really liked that feeling of like, oh, I get to do this thing, like focus and give me another cup of coffee and all of those things.
Yeah.
When I realized that I really liked that. That's when I first started to see it as a problem, because the more that I leaned into that, because it felt good and it felt like I had more control and I felt like I was being impactful, the more I noticed that I was cutting off those relationships and I wasn't seeing the people who were trying to help me, and my creativity was shut down because I was in that execution mode. And so I started to notice that feeling, and for me, it's a feeling in my body, like I just had a cup of coffee, right? Like a little bit of a buzzy energy and like this hyper focus. And there was a time in my life where I thought, oh, this is my superpower. I'm going to lean into this. And now when I feel that, right?
Yes.
Now when I feel that, I'm like, whoa, something is not right. I don't want to be in this place. And so there's a shift there from enjoying that feeling of importance and dominance and mastery or alleged mastery to wanting to have this feeling of connection and presence and spaciousness.
We as a company pride, and this is the key word here, pride ourselves on being responsive.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that go, I would like to have that, or I do have that, but it's a good thing to have, right? If you get an email, you get it out. You get a request for a proposal, you get it out. You got somebody who wants to design a program for their team. Instead of taking 2 weeks, you do it in 2 days. We kind of like, this is one of our secret sauces in an area as flooded as the area in which you and I will work.
Yes.
Coaching, facilitating, strategic planning, all this stuff that we do. There's a lot of us out there. And how do you distinguish yourself? And one of them is like, well, let's be faster than anybody else, right? And there's a certain amount of hubris to that, and a certain amount of badge of honor, a certain amount of identity to that. At the same time, we have to make sure that we're not sending out stuff that isn't really thoughtful, and tapping into the intuitive and the creative and the collaborative aspect of it. And I'm just even noticing in our own conversation right now how this relates to our values as a company.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And what do you do how do you help people get through this? Whether you call it addiction or not. I mean, I'm driving my car right now, Brad, and I'm listening to you. I'm I'm going through downtown Chicago, and I'm trying to get to my meeting really fast. And I realize I got to slow down a little bit, but I don't know how to slow down. What do you do, Brad? Help me out, man. Help me.
You addressed something early on, which is, you've got 300 emails. You're probably not going to get through them all.
Right.
So there's a whole, the start of this is a process of learning to say no. I usually start with clients by looking at their calendar and saying, okay, what can we take off your calendar? How many of these meetings need to be there? How many of them need to be weekly, or could they be every other week? Like let's slow down the amount of commitments that you have right on your calendar right from the start. And that conversation, it is striking at that importance and control heart of things. Like I'm driving a stake right into that spot, because giving up some of those meetings means, I have less control. The flip side is now you have time to have a conversation with someone where you can get to the bottom of things, you can resolve things, and they can experience your values and what you care about, so that when you're not in the room, they're acting in the way that you would want them to act.
Yeah. Let me throw another scenario that just happened.
I want to hear it.
And everybody has probably sensed something similar. Working with the team last week, or the week before, they're having to do a layoff. They're preparing for that. And we had a conversation about the fact that there's going to be people who will stay on, who were not laid off, who will continue to need to now do their job and the people's job that had to be laid off. So my point is, yes, we could say no to certain things, certain meetings, and I totally agree with you. And I think we have a kind of a default to yes to everything, right? Because we feel like in order to keep our careers protected and being seen as the favored employee, we got to say yes to everything. And so that's BS, but that's a social.
There's an assumption.
Assumption that we have, right?
Yeah.
But what about when our expectations for our workload are not determined by us, nor are the deadlines by which we need to complete them? I'm thinking, all right, I would love to slow down. I would love to be able to take some more time on things, but my boss, my manager, my company wants XYZ done, and they're the ones defining what it is and when it's done.
Yes.
And then I'm having to decide, how do I get it done? And all I can think is speed is my friend.
Ah. So let's just pause. Can I use you as an example here, Dean?
You can use me as much as you want.
So
just be
let's
gentle.
Let's think about the last time that you were like, I got to get this out quickly. The pressure, the time, the deadline. Do you have an example there in your head?
The thing is, I'll be honest with you. I will answer this. I'm not trying to dodge it.
I hear you.
I am a planner. I get things done before they need to get done. Okay. In order not to be behind the 8 ball, whereby I'm so stressed out to have to get something cranked out. Does that mean
so let's just pause right there.
Yeah.
Why do you do that?
Because I like security.
Okay.
And I like certainty. I like a certain amount of control. And if I feel like I am unprepared and caught flat-footed, if you will, that I may not be able to perform well if it's done at the last minute without my full capacity. I kind of know, I know some people perform really well under pressure. I perform really well under planning. And then when the pressure happens, I can let it all go and I'm going to play and I go, okay, we just all of a sudden pivoted and I can pivot really well.
Yeah.
Because now I'm in the moment. I'm in the moment when I'm facilitating. I get there.
Yes.
I even go through a ritual to get me in the moment. But up to that point, I'm preparing.
Yes. And so your experience is if you're doing things ad hoc or unprepared or in a hurry, you're not doing your best work.
It's the concern that would be the possibility of that. Yes. It's a possibility. Yes.
And so if I have more work to do, my argument is you actually need to slow down more. You need to really think about what am I doing here and what does success look like with this project or with this assignment? And then doing the work that will get you there so that it doesn't come back to you, so that it doesn't add work again. When I do things quickly, I make a bunch of mistakes. Last night, I started promotion for a webinar that I'm doing. And I got a bunch of emails back this morning that said, hey, the link that you send isn't working. Well, I didn't push publish on the web page because I was doing it at the end of the day in a hurry. I didn't take time to double check it, right?
So, Brad, I just caught something that I probably in my own stupid paradigm heard something else than what you're saying. And I think what you're saying is don't not do the work.
That's right.
Just don't do it with that frenetic speed.
Exactly.
Aha, Professor.
Speed is well, when I am working in speed, there's an anxiety to that, right? There's a fear that's going on. What fear does to our brain is it shuts down our prefrontal cortex. It tries to get us to make simple black and white decisions, right?
Yep.
So if I'm doing something complex and something that has high stakes, I don't want any of that fear energy going on in my brain. I want to be in a place of flow. And flow is when something is challenging, but that I'm giving it my full focus. I'm not thinking about, well, what if I don't get this done? And then there's this other thing I'm going to have to get done. The more of my brain that is working on other things other than the thing that's in front of me, the less effective I'm going to be at doing that thing.
I think you're right on, man. I really do. And it takes some intentionality to do it. You know, you have to kind of intentionally downshift to make this like stuff happen. But I really hear you. It's not about not doing it. It's about doing it slower. And I have certainly found in my style to react and then, you know, like, oh, there's something wrong. I got to handle it right away. Loose football. Everybody jump on the loose football. Let's get this done.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm going like, and my team has been really kind to me and yet kick me in the butt sometimes. They go like, would you just read the whole email before you respond?
There you go.
Please, Dean, could you just read the whole email? Love you, guy, but just... And I'm going like, oh, shoot. Here I am again, responding to the first sentence. I didn't get to the third. That's where the real meat was. Shame on me.
And I want to train your team to say, what do we know about Dean? He reads the first sentence. So put the most important thing in the first sentence.
And they do now. They do.
Yeah.
They do. But I do think, I go back to this example that what, and I'm wondering if this is what you kind of ask people to do, is when it comes to showtime, whatever showtime is, which is the wrong thing to say, because it should be all the time. Showtime is when I'm in front of a client, when I'm doing a facilitation with a group of people, when I'm maybe on a coaching call. I will literally go through a sort of a mental process to get myself back in my body, slow down, breathe, and let go of expectations and just get myself into a present state. I mean, I literally work at it, and it seems to bear fruit when I do that. When I don't do that, then I risk things. I risk myself not providing all of me. And if I'm not providing all of me, then I'm not providing all of the value that the client or anybody else is wanting. There's a great, so my friend Brad, we're already friends now. Do you know that?
We are, absolutely.
Okay, we're friends.
We're on our way to best buddies, I think.
I know. We're going to have a bromance here before you know it. But I've talked about this before on my podcast, but there's this really great Netflix, I don't think it's Netflix anymore, but it's probably somewhere else. It's called Insei, Innsai. It means intuition in Icelandic. And so this gal is trying to break free from this really stressful, urgency-addicted life working for the UN, where she saw all sorts of awful human behavior, war, and all that kind of stuff. And she says, I want to do a documentary about intuition. So she interviews all these different neuroscientists and shaman and all sorts of stuff. Then she lands on somebody, I think it's a Yugoslavian performance artist. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me tell you the story. So she finds this gal, and she has this installation at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. This is about being in the present moment. This is about your topic, my friend.
Yes, I'm hearing.
Large room, nothing in it, blank walls, one chair and another chair facing it.
Yes.
She goes and sits in one of the chairs. Somebody else eventually comes and sits next to it. No, across from her. No talking. They just look at each other. She just be present with this other person.
Yes.
She really listens without saying anything and takes in the whole being of that person. That person, as you see in the documentary, there are several of these examples. Some of them break down and cry because that was the first time, maybe since they were childhood, that they were really listened to. They were really in the presence of somebody who was in the presence of them and totally accepted them. And so just to finish the story, I tell this to my clients all the time, is that became a whole line of people waiting to sit and have this experience. And it got to be so popular, the line went out the door, down to the street, around the block. And to this day, I think this is true. It is the most popular performance art installation in the history of the Museum of Modern Art. A person being present with another person. Drop the mic.
So can I pick the mic up for a minute from that?
Absolutely. Dust it off though first.
Okay. So imagine being a leader and having one of your team members come to you with a challenge or a problem or an opportunity.
I love the way you're bringing it back home. Thank you, my friend. Bring it back home.
And you're working on a report or a PowerPoint or something, and they walk into your office or they pop up on chat, and you keep working while, I think you got it, right? That's one experience. Another experience is I close what's on my computer and I look at them and I listen intently to what they're saying. What is the difference there? What happened with that person? How do they feel after you've had that conversation with them?
Cared for, understood, heard, listened to. I was remembering a statistic that happened right after or right during the Great Resignation period, right? So we had COVID, and then we had what was called the Great Resignation. And they were asking people, why are you leaving? Why are you going to greener pastures? Forget the fact that you can now do your job on Zoom in Timbuktu. Why did you leave? And the one word was, I didn't feel my manager cared for me.
Yes.
This is exactly what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. And when we listen, it imparts importance to the topic that they're bringing to us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And when we do that, we value them, and they're not going to bring us trivial stuff. If we take the time to really listen and understand and connect, they're going to feel safe to bring us the more important topics. And they're going to realize that they don't have to bring every little thing to us. And so again, from the executive's point of view, this is helping you to get more done. You're working on the more important topics. Things are getting completed, and your team feels valued and it feels more independent and knows that they can do things because of the way you've got their back.
I totally agree with you. So add another dimension to this. Conflict between people.
Yeah.
What I've observed, and I'm curious what you've observed, is that a majority of the conflict that happens between people is a desperate attempt to being heard. The topic, the style are all tools to help us get to this core, unmet human desire of being heard. And if you can hear me, I may not agree with you, but I know you understand me, and I'm willing to do almost anything for that. That we sometimes conflate, or I should say, collapse agreement with understanding.
Yeah.
That the only way that I know that you understand me is if you agree with me. No, ho, ho, ho. I don't think that's true. I can agree. Right. I can understand you completely and still not vote for you, still not marry you, still not buy your goddamn car, still not do any other things that you want me to do. But I understand you. And it's because if we get to that point of understanding is a cousin to what I think you're talking about, is we understand through being present. We understand through listening and taking the care to be able to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. Doesn't mean that we have to agree with it again.
Right.
So anyway, thoughts on that?
I think that, I love this idea that conflict is about, conflict is about not being heard. What happens when we're not heard is that we get louder, right? And then we get louder, and then you get louder, and then everybody, now we've got a conflagration. I don't know how to say that word. A big mess.
It's a good word, yeah. We'll make it up. We have a conflagration.
There you go. Whatever.
I need you to remove my conflagration, doctor. It's swelling.
So when we see conflict, yes, there's a lack of hearing going on there. And if you as a leader are listening fully, giving your full attention to the people that you work with, they are more likely then to give that same full attention to other people in the organization, right? Yes. You're a leader. Leader means that I'm going first. What I go first with is taking the time to listen. That other person has that experience. Maybe they do that also. Now imagine a whole organization where people were really listening to each other, doing one thing at a time, not multitasking. What would that be like?
We think a lot about collaboration in teams and working with other departments, but it's like I have this image all of a sudden, Brad, of like, we got to go through this portal of presence and listening and being in the moment that leads to collaboration versus, let's just step over that. Right?
I mean, collaboration comes in a trust container, right? There has to be trust between us if we're going to collaborate. I have to believe that we're on the same page. And the only way we can get there is by listening and being present.
All right. So taking your lead from before, practically, how do we do this? What are your tips, tools, trades? I mean, those things that, of course, there is no one size fits all, but is it awareness? Is it intentionality? Is it I choose to listen now? I choose to be in the moment? Is it I need to take 6 breaths before I can have this conversation? Is it all the above? What do you do?
So we talked about calendar, and the thing that I want to get to on calendar, I hired an assistant to manage my calendar. I don't have a Calendly link or anything like that. I have a human. And part of the reason that Carmen does my calendar is that I told her 2 things when I hired her. I said, number 1, if I ever have back-to-back meetings, you're fired.
Meaning you need some time between?
Everyone needs some time between. When I talk to people about presence, I actually, one of the things that I give as an assignment is just at the end of every day, stop and notice during the day, when were you present and when were you not present? And over
Ooh.
again, the thing that people say is,
Ooh.
well, when I was in my fourth meeting, I was not present. You know, but that when we stack up meetings without any kind of break to clear our minds, we still have part of our brain in that meeting four meetings ago. And it's just impossible to be present when we're stacked up back to back like that.
Yeah. I even think it's deeper than that. I even think that people being present may not happen at all during a day, even if they have only one meeting.
Okay.
Because I
Say
think,
more.
Well, I think that we're becoming, I have great hope for humankind, right? I really
Good.
do. And I'm an optimist. I'm a cup half full. But I think with technology, speed, AI, the fact that you and I are having a conversation over this thing called, Riverside, it's
right, whatever.
You show up as a 3x3 little box on my computer here. So, I think that we're in the speed of things happening so much that I think we're training the brain not to be present.
Yes.
Through repetition. Like I've
Yes.
always been thinking like, all right, let's go take a look at what are the top competencies that CEOs need today, right? And you go look at Harvard Business Review and they go, well, we need self-awareness, right? So self-awareness, emotional intelligence, there's always something like that that's way up there on the top 5, maybe the top 1. And I'm going like, I've been rethinking that. I go, wait a minute, hold the bus, back up the bus. I can't be self-aware if I'm not present. I can't be self-aware if I'm not if I'm not listening to myself. So I can't be self-aware if I'm not focused on my self-awareness. So I'm almost thinking that precedes this competency of emotional intelligence and self-awareness is that we need to have the muscle, the practice, the wherewithal to get us present. Because if we don't have that, all the other stuff doesn't work. How do you be present? How do you have self-awareness if you're not focused on that? Right?
Can I move that 30 degrees from where you're at there?
You can move it 180 if you want.
I think you're right that we need that there needs to be a feeling of self-awareness. But if I'm self-aware all the time, it's hard to get into service. Service is when I'm aware of the other person, right?
Yeah, I just meant I wasn't necessarily glomming onto self-awareness. I was glomming onto the importance of focus and being present as a precursor to good self-awareness, which self-awareness could include, if you take a look at the way in which we define emotional intelligence, it includes the other. It is not just me, right? So
on my website, I have an assessment called the Self-Leadership Assessment. And I can send you the link. You can put it in the show notes.
Please do.
The self-leadership. So my concept of self-leadership is before we can lead other people, we need to be able to lead ourselves. And we're leading ourselves. Way to go,
brother. Hallelujah. I agree.
We need to be able to be aware of our thoughts and our feelings and what's going on in our body, right?
Yep.
And when we are aware of that, then we can be intentionally present in a certain way. And the thing that helps us to be more aware of those things is reflection. So like I said, that little exercise of at the end of the day, just looking back over your calendar, where in the calendar was I present today and where was I not present? That's just a moment to do some reflection and say, oh, in that meeting, I got really distracted. What was going on there? Well, Pauline droned on and on about those things that I don't care about. How can I be more curious and interested in what it is that Pauline is talking about? What is the question behind that, right? And so there's always a move there. If we are embracing self-leadership, there's always a move there that can help us to become more present, regardless of the situation or the circumstances that we're in.
And yet we need the ritual, which is going to have to be calendared, to do that self-reflection at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So like, before I brush my teeth, before I go to bed, I got this thing to do, which is called reflect back on my presence, my audit, my presence audit.
Yep.
Brad, curious, my friend. Now, buddy, what happened that got you to be so interested in this topic? Because Because I think there's a story there, right? I mean, like, you don't just...
there's
I
multiple
want to
stories
grow up,
there,
Daddy,
Dean.
to be really interested in presence and, what do you want to do when you're an adult? Well, I think I really want to study present moment experiences. Da, 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 da. I know everybody else wants to be a football player and an astronaut, but, how did you come to this?
So I was working with an older leader who we were just kind of sharing our experiences. He was sort of a mentor of mine. And he told me a story about what he called the before Barney and the after Barney. And the before Barney was kind of a jerk. And I kind of related to that version of Barney. Like, he got a lot done. He was the person in the organization that they would put in every place that needed fixing, and he would go in and get it fixed. Right? So he was a get her done kind of guy. And then he talks about the after Barney. And the after Barney, the person that I was experiencing in front of me, he was a teddy bear. He was a lovely human being, someone that I wanted to spend time with. And I said, Barney, what changed in the middle? What made you go from this before Barney to this after Barney? And he told me about this spiritual formation program called the Transforming Center. I went, literally the next day I signed up. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And this was a program that is mostly designed for spiritual leaders. I was like the odd man out, which was amazing because no one cared about me at all. I was like, I had no currency to spend in this organization because they were all like pastors and other spiritual leaders. And I was this outcast. But in that environment, because I had no currency to spend, I learned about being present and listening and paying attention. And when I'm a slow learner, so I went through twice because the first time didn't get me enough. But when I came out of it, I still realized that my calling was to work with leaders. Working with leaders is the thing that I'm put here to do. And so how do I take this spiritual experience and make it into a practical experience for people who are in the moment of leading their companies? And so that's the journey I've been on since, I don't know, 2017, something like that.
Good for you. That's great. I was asking myself the same question, like, when did this start for me,
Yeah,
Like,
it's a great question.
I remembered that
if we're going to be friends, we got to know these questions.
We got to know all of it, baby. I think for me, it was theater. It was acting.
Yes.
It was knowing the power of a scene was subject to the amount of presence and listening that the characters or the actors were experiencing. And what's different that I found between watching a movie and watching live theater is that your eye always goes to the actor in a live theater setting who is the most present, even if they don't have the most lines, because we are enamored with watching people be in themselves, be in the present moment. That's why dogs and kids are so compelling on TikTok and videos and movies and selling toilet paper is because we get to watch them experiencing something that our soul is hungry for.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I found that was a really great boot camp for me for those 3 years. I thought that I was going to be an actor, but at the end of it, I went, I really want the audience to stay in their seats, and I want the actors to stay on the stage, and I want to facilitate a conversation about what did we all learn about Hamlet, And I realized, okay, I think I'm done. I need to move on to something else.
It's funny you mentioned that because my wife and I, during this period, took an acting class where they were teaching us the Meisner method, which is
that's how I got trained.
It's about presence, right?
Same thing.
And I experienced that as well in an acting context of just what it's like to really listen and pay attention to another person. It was amazing. It was really,
we had
really
listening
valuable.
exercises. I mean, we did all sorts of stuff just to get us there. Well, all right. So, Brad, it comes to the time in the show where I have to ask the question, how can people follow you, and what are you up to next that we should be aware of?
So anchoradvisors.com is my website, and that's where you find all things Brad and the rest of my team also. And if you go there, you can search for the self-leadership assessment, or like I said, Dean will probably put it in the show notes.
Definitely.
In terms of what's up for me next, I love one-to-one coaching. That is the thing that I'm really invested in. And so I work with a lot of business owners and also C-level executives who are at that place where their business has outgrown their leadership. Like, they're running to catch up rather than being the person that's out in front. Those are the people that I really like to work with, and to help them to slow down so that things can catch up to them, so that they're in a place where they can regain control, not by having their fingers in everything, but by having their presence with the people who are doing the work.
It's good. The problem with this topic is that it's not the newest, sexiest idea out there, right?
I think it's several thousand years old.
I think it is. I think it's as long as we've been around. So we kind of like discount it. It's not cool, but it is the most important thing I think that we can do. I really do.
Yeah.
So one final thought. You do have a last name though, right, Brad?
I do, Farris.
Okay, good. Because you're showing up on my screen as
I
just
see
Brad.
that. I don't know what happened.
And I'm
with
going
that.
like, what are you trying to create? Like a Cher or a Prince, persona? Like, I'm just Brad. Is there a last name? No,
Farris.
it's just Brad.
Farris with an A, not with an E.
Okay.
And you can find me on LinkedIn under that too, Brad.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that you were. I wanted to call you by your right name.
I appreciate that, because I forget about the whole video thing.
It's sort of like Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yes.
Brad,
if I could have a symbol,
yeah,
I would do the symbol thing.
That's awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
It has, and we made new friends.
We did. If you have a podcast yourself, not yet, or do you?
No.
Well,
I have a secret podcast.
Oh, you go get one going. You're good on tape, man. You're good on tape.
Thank you.
Well, this has really been a lot of fun. I do hope our paths cross again. And for those of you who are listening in, other books that I have found, I think you and I talked about this. One really great book called Golden, The Power of Silence in a World of Noise is really good. There's the book called Flow by, I can't remember if I pronounce it right, Nihai Csikszentmihalyi or something like that. He's a master. Yep. It's also very well written. And then there's also a lot of work on The Power of Now, another great series of books. God, I forget his name, but you guys will find it. But good sources of information on this. But Brad, thank you so much for your time. You've been a real delight.
Thanks for having me, Dean.
Thank you for listening to Leadervation with Dean Newland. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to learn more about Dean or Mission Facilitators Leadership, go to mfileadership.com. That's mfileadership.com, or check the show notes. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. Transform your leadership success with Leadervation.